a lot of people have holes in their philosophy, a lot of corporate state philosophies. It's the Lex Luthor effect. It's the social club effect, where they try to do things to make it so they feel more comfortable in life, or whatever you want to call it. It's sick that they're able to feel comfortable after all the horrible things they're very much complicit with. They're very much a part of what they cause, especially. They like to say, hey, look how calm we are. Also, before I forget, remember, they're changing my voice. They like to say, look how calm we are compared to this guy. Well, this guy's persecuted for righteousness' sake. That's like saying, look how nice dressed we are compared to Jesus on the cross. It's like, he's persecuted for moral precision at the highest degree in the story, you fucking idiot. You know what I'm saying? And every day, one of their main tactics and concerns is to try to create that effect. Is they try to look like they have it together. Well, I don't. And they say, hey, that's why they should date us and do what we say. And it's also the making of the system where there's a bunch of rapists everywhere, law enforcement, the streets, what have you. They want you to scrabble to try to date towards some rich guy, right? Hypergamy. It says you'll have nicer things and they can protect you more than the poor guy. You can live in a safer neighborhood and so on and so forth. It's a really sick thing. Instead of women becoming like Bonnie and Clyde, Romeo and Juliet, they become just another fucking whore for the lowest forms of life that ever lived. Rich trash, social club trash, secret society filth, what have you. Garbage people, just horrible people who have attained a certain amount of blood money in a society where it's very common that people go to college and have like $100,000 in debt, and they work for a nonprofit, or they work for a mediocre job because it's a racist and evil and petty social club, who not what type of system. And then these whores just whore themselves to the pieces of shit that fucking make the system that way, which makes guys want to abuse them. Okay, it doesn't mean they should abuse them. I forbid them to abuse them because it's wrong, and they're not even in the divine order. And who are they to fucking force themselves on a female, right? They're not even fucking being a man. When you're acting more of a bitch than a bitch, you can't then turn around and say that you should be allowed to rape that person. That's fucking retarded. I shouldn't have to explain this, you know what I'm saying? All the time, you see just foolish people, and they're just abusing people. And I can't stress enough that it's the design of society for all these rapes to take place. And they like to confuse things. They like to confuse whose fault it is, who the rapist is to some degree at times at least. They like to confuse the shit out of everything. And you gotta, it's good old fashioned, go back to the drawing board. They'll allow you to figure it out. You say, what is rape by deception? What is the psychological construct? How do people reinvent themselves as their job? They say, well, I'm a police officer, I'm a lawyer, I'm a fucking this, I'm that. I'm an engineer, right? I'm working NASA. That okay. That's not who you really are, and it doesn't reflect what you deserve. Your job doesn't reflect the type of woman you deserve. And so many people believe that it does or something, and that also adds to the fucking confusion. You see what I'm saying? And the confusion creates the deception, right? The confusion and the deception, one way or another, are connected. And that causes rape by deception when a female in a state of mind that is confused makes a romantic decision, a sex-based decision, a decision in regards to who she's going to sleep with and date. Okay? It's fucking retarded, right? It's rape by deception, misdirection, right? It's like a magician trying to confuse them with misdirection and distraction. And psychology and subtle coercion, subtle and not so subtle. It depends on how much you think about it. If you're not thinking about it, you're like an airhead, you're like, oh, it's subtle. If you're thinking about it, you're like, well, this guy may as well be putting a gun to my head in this situation. I'll lose my job or whatever, okay? Or, hey, what are the options here? Okay, when you look at it, it starts with the design, and you become a victim right away when you accept the boundaries of the design. When you say that you'll never be Juliet, when you'll say you'll never be, in a Bonnie and Clyde relationship, in reality, right, in a romantically precise and morally precise way, okay, then you've accepted the boundaries of evil. You've accepted being evil. You've accepted being a part of it. Because when other women look to these women and they say, hey, you know what? That person's doing it. All of her friends are doing it. Their family's doing it. Then they're like, hey, I may as well do it too. And that's one of the biggest deceptions, is what other women are doing. So you see this case in the news about all the Dublin prison and all this rape stuff that took place. Why did they come forward? I think that they looked around and they asked their cellmates and they kind of thought about it, and they probably had some kind of support, and they said, what are other people doing? And then they said, okay, let's present this together. Or they presented one at a time because they'd already kind of calculated what they expected to occur as a result. You know, and we look at these females, a lot of them don't look like gang members. They probably are in racial cliques in the prison, but they don't look much like they're the typical gang member, which is usually what gang members look like in prison. They look very typical. They go for that look, what have you, you know. And I think that it goes back to that support network garbage argument. Mental health makes the same argument. They say you need a strong support network. And what are the support networks that are allowed? The only ones you ever see, they're scum. They're corporate scum, you know, code of silence scum, you know, military industrial complex scum, government scum, political party scum, okay, educational group scum, you know what I'm saying? A group of friends you grew up with that uphold the social norms of your high school or something, type of scum, just scum, 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 scum. Rape call, turn a blind eye, filth everywhere. And that is the design, the main trick, the main concern of all this rape stuff, to make sure it goes smoothly, is to make sure you don't form a group that's concerned with moral precision and tells the truth about everything. They make sure that you just play the game. The game is a rape game. Racist and rapist are connected. Those words are nearly identical for a reason. Okay, race and rape. They're racing to make it sure that their race secures the money so they can be the ones that rape everyone else, instead of racing to make sure that nobody rapes anybody. You see what I'm saying? To make sure that people are honest about everything. If people knew the truth about things, they would keep their legs closed. They wouldn't have sex at all. Okay? And the only exception is those people who rallied to me to make sure that they're morally precise, got their tubes tied, and then had a morally precise relationship. Other than that, you know, that's why I may as well just say it the way the first time, because they're not going to rally to me, is what it looks like. Okay? Other than that, people would keep their legs closed, they keep their mouth closed, they wouldn't have fucking sex, they wouldn't give fucking hand jobs, they wouldn't let someone get to first fucking base, okay? Because it is sick, you know, to be an evil person, getting naughty, getting freaky, getting frisky, messing around with, dating evil people. That is sick, okay? If you understand how offensive it is to God and to the righteous, you wouldn't consider it. And one of the main things you always have to look out for, I can't stress this enough, you know, it's a matter of justice, okay, is that white supremacy confuses things. They like to say, well, he's a hardworking American, right? That propaganda is actually extended outside of the news, and people actually use it to confuse things. And I know when you hear it, you know that I'm right, but a lot of you probably think he shouldn't be saying that. But it's very much there. They say, they designed a white supremacist rape system, and then from there, you know, a lot of the confusion comes in. It's doublethink. There's, you know, what would a coward do? There's what would a white supremacist rapist pretending he's the good guy do? Okay, which is like the average person, so to speak, you know, of all race, you know, kind of white supremacist washed, you know, white supremacist culture, you know. And, you know, there's what's the right thing to do. So it's like triple think, right? And then there's all kinds of variations in, hey, what exactly would they do in the first place? So you're thinking all kinds of things in a sense at once. And it's a lot easier when you rally and you come into a martial discipline and say moral precision, martial precision, mental, romantic, spiritual precision. Right? What is precisely the right thing to do? You write it down, you type it out, you underline, you highlight, you make rough drafts and final drafts and so on and so forth. Okay, brainstorm, rough draft, final draft. You get your thoughts together, you make sure it's pinpointed right, you discuss it. And as people avoid discussing it, there's a good chance that you're right if they don't want to talk to you about it at all. Because when you say something that they agree with, that they're allowed to agree with it, which is basically wrong, then they discuss it. You see what I'm saying? They're like, okay, I can discuss it now. That's part of why people need to rally. Because people who aren't in a morally precise group, and there's only one group it could be if they rally to me, okay, they're not going to discuss it fairly. Okay, they're afraid of getting in trouble. You know, they're not going to give you good advice. They don't live that advice. They're not morally precise. You know, and what angle do you come at it from? You can come at it from white supremacy and token minority alliance, which is the exact solution they had in mind when they created a problem, making it fucking extremely unfair and evil and a cruel solution? Or do you come at it as uncontrolled opposition and truth, and you rally to me? Okay? And there's people whose job it is
to prevent that from occurring, because they know that's the only way people can be right with God. Okay, the only way to do justice is to come into a valid moral order, not into an order of ill-gotten gains where they use psychology and pretend to do the right thing and play the game and say, we're doing something now, guys. We're the fairy saviors. And it's fucking immature. Some He-Man fairy savior, fairy bullshit, Pharisee fairy nonsense. And people need to grow up and do the right thing. You see, after I'm gone, everyone should get their tubes tied. They should just protest everything, tell everyone else to get their tubes tied and not have sex and so on and so forth, and accept being screened out. It's not moral precision, but it's the next best thing, if there's no valid moral order, which there won't be after I'm gone.